My name is Maris Quinn, and I'm 34. I'm an emergency physician, which is a fancy way of saying I live where other people's worst days clock in. I keep spare scrubs in my trunk, a protein bar in every coat pocket, and a plant on my windowsill named Lucky that refuses to die, possibly out of pity. In my family, we grew up with roles like uniforms. Mine, reliable. My younger sister, Melissa, wore expensive taste like a personality. Mom called it charm. Dad called it a phase. The phase has celebrated 19 birthdays and expects a cake every time. We weren't rich. Dad's back gave out early. Mom could coupon a receipt into origami. I picked up shifts and wired money home more than once. Back then, it didn't feel like sacrifice, just gravity. Someone pays the light bill. Someone buys the radiator hose. Someone is on call for the family even when she's already on call for the city. That someone was me. The week before Christmas, I was charting at 10:03 a.m. when my phone buzzed 20 times in under a minute. Family group chat lighting up like a switchboard. Melissa's kids, 11 and 14, sent a list. Not a list, a manifesto. $300 drone, cinematic mode, PS6, 2 iPhones, we'll trade the old ones, cash for future tattoos, LOL, clothes, sizes attached, thanks, love you. I counted zeros like a nurse counts pills at the end of a shift. I typed, "Is this a joke?" and set the phone face down. Buzz. Melissa. Don't be cheap. You're the rich aunt. Across the hall, a monitor alarm trilled. A kid coughed the kind of cough that brings 3 nurses at once. I put the phone away and went back to the living. 2 days later, I dropped soup and batteries at my parents' house because the smoke alarm had been chirping for a week. Melissa sat at the table, scrolling. She didn't look up. "Did you see the list?" she asked. "Yeah. You're a doctor," she said. "It's not like you can't afford it." Dad studied his coffee like it was about to confess. Mom cut an apple with surgical concentration. Our house specializes in small sounds when the big ones hurt. I didn't explain medical school loans or why my sedan is 7 years old with a cracked taillight. I replaced the battery and listened to the quiet thicken. Here's the tally I never meant to keep. $300, $850, $120 for cleats, $64 for a field trip, $400 for a deposit, $200 for a birthday emergency, $1,100 for we got behind, $75 for a fundraiser. 47 entries in 6 years. Money, yes. Time, more. Freeway drives because Melissa hates merges. Pediatric appointments. A last-minute orthodontist visit because she forgot. I left mid-shift twice to sign a form because Mom's handwriting stresses the secretary out. When I was chief resident, Dad shook my hand like I was a neighbor. When Melissa worked 3 weeks at a boutique, we had cake. It got a nickname at Thanksgiving, Doc Moneybags. Everyone laughed. The laugh stayed. By December, the tired took up residence behind my eyes. Melissa's text, "Don't be cheap," didn't shock me. It clarified me. There's a quiet moment after an insult where you wonder if you imagined it. I didn't. At lunch the next day, I called. "About the list," I said. "It's not that deep," she said. "You always overthink." "I can't buy all that." "You won't or you can't?" she asked, like my settings were Saint or Scrooge. "I won't." "Okay, principled," she laughed. "Get whatever, but don't make it weird." We hung up. I stared at my sandwich and wrote what I write for strangers all night long. A plan. Not revenge. A boundary in steps. That afternoon, I booked 3 things. Financial counseling for Melissa, prepaid, 6 sessions. Family therapy, intake covered, 3 to start. Movers, 2 days with packing supplies, only if she chose to downsize like she'd promised since July. I also bought grocery gift cards that would activate only when the counselor marked attendance for session 1. Yes, I was that specific. I'm a woman who writes orders. Christmas morning wouldn't be a pile of electronics. It would be 12 labeled boxes and a sealed envelope with clear steps, numbers, and phone numbers. Help you can't swipe. I told Ethan, my boyfriend, over takeout noodles at my apartment, steam fogging the winter out of the window. He listened the way I need most, all the way to the end. "It's solid," he said. "It's generous without bleeding." "I'm bracing for fallout." "You're choosing where the fallout lands," he said. "That's new." His phone buzzed. Sabrina, his ex, had posted a reel of a sponsored kids' party. Confetti, hired smiles, captioned, "Memories are priceless," with tags that somehow included my mother. Sabrina has a talent for finding the bone and tapping it with a spoon until the room hears it. Ethan silenced the phone. She wants an audience. She can keep mine. Melissa will see it, I said. She was going to be mad anyway, he said. Let her pick the straw that breaks the camel's patience. I slept like a person who forgot to bring home her shift. Morning arrived wearing pajamas and syrup. I pulled on a sweater over scrubs, slid the envelope into my pocket, and met the delivery truck at my parents' curb. 12 giant boxes, labels printed in clean black. Kitchen, kids' clothes, books, Miss C, donate. The movers carried them in 2 at a time and waited by the door, professional and kind. What is this? Melissa demanded, scanning my hands for a drone I wasn't hiding. Delivery for Melissa Carter, the mover said, friendly. He set the stack down and offered her the sealed envelope. She didn't take it. I held it out until she did. Somewhere behind us, the kids were already priming their joy. Somewhere ahead of us, a fight was choosing its first word. I took a breath and prepared to speak mine. Christmas at my parents' is waffles, pajamas, and the TV whispering cartoons no one is actually watching. The doorbell cut through the syruped air. When the movers wheeled in 12 giant boxes stacked like a decision you can't ignore, the room went sitcom still. Delivery for Melissa Carter, the first mover said, polite as a bow. He set the labeled towers by the couch. Kitchen, kids' clothes, books, Miss C, donate. He handed Melissa a sealed envelope. She stared at it like it might bite. Where's the drone? My nephew asked, eyes scanning my hands. And the PS6? Open it, I told Melissa, nodding at the envelope. Please. She tore the flap and unfolded pages I'd printed on off-white paper to make the words look less like a warrant and more like a plan. She read aloud, flat. Step 1. Open the 2 small boxes marked grocery. These gift cards activate when the financial counselor marks attendance for session 1. Her head snapped up. You made the food conditional? I made the help conditional on showing up, I said. So it sticks. She looked back down, cheeks heating. Step 2. Call the counselor, number listed, and book your first meeting this week. 6 sessions are prepaid. Step 3. Pack 1 donate box with the kids. Choose toys and clothes they've outgrown. Label it. We'll drop it together at 2 p.m. Step 4. If you choose to downsize, the apartment you told me about in July, movers are scheduled for the 5th, 6th. If not, they'll haul the empties back. Step 5. Family therapy intake, January 3rd, 10 o'clock a.m. It's covered. Show up. Her voice thinned. What is this? A boundary and steps, I said gently. Real help, not upgrades. My niece tugged a ribbon off donate and found a smaller box inside labeled grocery. She opened it, hopeful, and blinked at 2 cards and a note. See step 1. Her lip trembled. Where's my iPhone? There isn't one today, I said, kneeling to her height. There's pancakes on Saturday. You pick toppings. Her mouth made a small O, then wobbled. Melissa's jaw sharpened. You did this on Christmas. Mom's hand found the back of a chair. Dad stared at the boxes like they were judging him. I did this on a day you'd be home, I said. So we can start. Start what? Melissa snapped. Punishing my kids? No, I said. Stopping the story where I buy you a life you can't afford and call it love. Dad's voice dropped, warning soft. Don't make a scene, Maris. A helicopter at a birthday is a scene, I said evenly. 12 boxes is a plan. Across the room, my nephew ripped tape off Maya C. and found the calendar I'd printed, the counselor's number in big font, and a page titled, Budget, yours, not mine. He frowned. What's a budget? A map, I said. We'll draw it together. Melissa let out a laugh that wasn't a laugh. You think you're better than me. I think I've been acting like an ATM with a stethoscope, I said. I'm done. She looked at my parents for backup. Mom's eyes shone. You've never been cruel before, she whispered. Cruel is letting a problem rot because I'm scared to say it stinks, I said. This is accountability with receipts. My nephew kicked a box and started to cry. My niece followed. The sound landed at my feet like guilt I could pick up if I wanted. I didn't. Open the last one, I said quietly. The flat one. Dad slid it with a butter knife. Inside, a list of low-cost sports programs nearby. 2 part-time job listings Melissa had saved on her phone and never applied for. A handwritten letter. Melissa refused to read it. I did, voice steady. I love you. I am not your bank. I won't be shamed into buying what your budget can't hold. I will help you learn the math. I'll show up for counseling. I'll cook dinner and drive to appointments you schedule. I won't carry this alone anymore. Say you're sorry, Mom hissed, panic cracking through Pretty. No. My hands were calm. My heart was loud and obedient. I'm done apologizing for boundaries. Dad pointed at the door like it owed him rent. Then leave. I stood, tucked the letter back into the box, and zipped my coat. My niece hiccuped between sobs. I crouched to her again. Saturday, I said. Pancakes, promise. She nodded, because kids believe promises bigger than they believe price tags. Melissa stared at me as if the version of me she controlled would suddenly burst through my chest and hand her a drone. You'll regret this, she said low. No, I said, and the word felt like a key finally turning. I'm finally going to sleep. Outside, the cold snapped clean. Behind me, the house swelled with voices. Dad's baritone, Mom's thin plea, Melissa's sharper edges, the kids' grief. I let the door close on all of it because not every sound is mine to fix. By the time I hit the sidewalk, my phone was already stuttering with messages. 14 missed calls from Mom, 9 from Dad, 21 from Melissa, and a notification I didn't need to open to know. Sabrina had posted a glitter-slick story. Some people don't understand investing in memories. Tagging 3 momfluencers, and somehow my mother. I didn't tap it. I didn't need to. Shame crowds, even when you ignore it. So does resolve if you give it a seat. In my car, I set my phone to Do Not Disturb, stared through the windshield at a sky the color of new decisions, and said it out loud so my chest would believe me. I love them. I'm not funding them. I drove home to a plant that had never judged me and a man who wouldn't. When I opened the door, Ethan didn't ask for a play-by-play. He held out a mug and a blanket, like 2 forms of amnesty. Did it land? He asked after a minute. It landed, I said, and it cracked. Good, he said softly. Cracks are where light gets in. The phone buzzed on the counter, persistent, then angry, then tired. I let it run out of battery on purpose and watched the screen go black, like the last scene of a show that finally got honest. Somewhere in that dark, I slept for 6 hours without dreaming anyone else's emergencies. Morning found me before I wanted it. The world felt lighter and louder at the same time, the kind of quiet that hums after something detonates. My phone sat face down on the counter, an object I almost didn't recognize. When I finally turned it over, the screen bloomed red with notifications, 52 unread messages, group chats, family chats, even one labeled Cousins that had been dormant since 2020. Everyone suddenly remembered I existed. The first voicemail was Mom's. Maris, call me, please. Your sister is beside herself. The second, Dad. You went too far. You embarrassed this family. The third came from an unknown number that turned out to be Sabrina, my boyfriend's ex, because the internet is small and malice is efficient. You could have just said no privately. Public stunts are sad. I deleted it. At 10 a.m., while Ethan worked from my couch, I sat at my kitchen table with coffee gone cold and wrote 3 new rules on a sticky note. 1. No explanations longer than 1 sentence. 2. No money without paperwork. 3. No guilt calls after 9 p.m. The phone buzzed again. Melissa, you made my kids cry on Christmas. I typed, deleted, then wrote, I refuse to buy them things. That's different. She replied with a picture of my niece's tear-streaked face and the caption, You did this. I set the phone in the freezer for 15 minutes just to make a point to myself. Silence is an option. By Tuesday, the financial counselor I'd prepaid for Melissa left a voicemail. Hi, Dr. Quinn. Your sister confirmed her appointment for tomorrow morning. She didn't sound thrilled, but she's coming. I let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a prayer. Thank you, I whispered to nobody. At the hospital that night, a teenager's pulse fluttered under my fingers like a moth. His father kept repeating, You're okay, buddy, you're okay. The words hit something soft inside me. I've said them to everyone but myself. Wednesday morning, Dad showed up at the car wash Ethan and I sometimes used on weekends. Not because he needed a wash, because confrontation loves neutral ground. He leaned on the vending machine, arms folded. Your mother's tired, he said. I know. You humiliated your sister. She used my credit without asking. She said you gave her permission. I didn't. He studied the ground. You've changed. I stopped drowning. He blinked. You always have an answer, don't you? No, I said. I just stopped answering with my wallet. His mouth opened, then shut. You're cold. I'm calm. He left without paying for a wash. The machine kept humming like backup applause for boundaries. That night, the counselor texted again. First session done. They were late, but they came. Progress often arrives dressed like reluctance. I screenshotted it and tucked it in a folder called Proof of Life. Day 4. Mom called. Your father's still upset, she said. He says you've divided us. I think I just stopped holding everyone together. She sighed. Melissa said she might move. The kids are confused. Moving might be good, I said. Sometimes new walls make people listen. Pause, then softer. You always were the generous one. Generous isn't the same as available. I don't like this version of you, she whispered. I do, I said. She sleeps. She hung up. Thursday evening, 9:46 p.m. I was folding laundry when the kids called from Melissa's phone, both crying. Aunt Maris, my niece sobbed. Why don't you love us anymore? My throat closed for a second. I do, sweetheart. So much that I'm teaching love isn't bought in boxes. But everyone else got stuff, she said. I know, I said. We'll make pancakes Saturday. You choose toppings. Even whipped cream? Especially whipped cream. She hiccuped a laugh before handing the phone to her brother. He whispered, Mom's sad. I know, I said again. Sad isn't forever. After the call, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the folded scrubs in my drawer. Each one a small flag of survival. Ethan knocked softly. You okay? I'm learning how to be, I said. It's weird. He smiled. Boundaries always are. They sound like rebellion until they sound like peace. Friday, Melissa texted in all caps. We went to your meeting. Happy now? I replied, proud. She didn't answer. The next morning, the therapist's office emailed confirmations for both her and Mom. Seeing their names typed together did something small but seismic to my chest. Later, I opened my freezer for ice cream and found my phone still sitting on the shelf, frost clinging to its corners. I laughed. The first laugh that didn't cost me anything. Sunday dinner came and went without an invite. I stayed home, made soup, and muted every chat except Ethan's. At 10:02 p.m., he sent a photo. Lucky, my stubborn plant, blooming a new leaf. Growth, he captioned. Against all odds, I replied. Then I wrote one more line in my sticky note manifesto. You can love people and still lock your wallet. You can forgive without funding. You can stop and still care. I turned off my phone before anyone could argue. 2 weeks later, I woke to a message that didn't start with blame. Hey, we went back to the counselor. She made us do budgets. It was awful. It was from Melissa. I stared at the screen, half expecting the next line to explode into accusation. It didn't. Also, the grocery cards worked. Kids made a meal plan. Kind of fun. I sat up so fast my plant trembled on the windowsill. I typed one word back. Proud. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Don't get used to it, she wrote. It was more apology than I'd ever gotten. That same afternoon, Dad texted, You coming Sunday? I waited, curious if a trap was hiding in the simplicity. Bring that soup you make, he added. I smiled. I can swing by after work, I replied. On Saturday, Melissa called. No yelling, just breathing. Do you still have the number for that dentist who works weekends? Yep, texting now. Pause. Then, do I have to tip movers? Yes, 20 each. She laughed, the first sound in months that didn't scrape. Sunday came gray and cold. I carried a pot of soup through my parents' front door. The house felt different, quieter, as if shame had finally tired itself out. My nephew ran up, proud as a parade. Look, Aunt Maris. He showed me a paper chart, boxes drawn in crayon. Chores, school, phone fund, $22, $400. I blinked. You're saving for it? He nodded. If I save half, Mom says you'll match it. I will, I said. Half for effort, half for proof. Mom's eyes watered. Dad cleared his throat. Melissa hovered near the counter, arms crossed like a habit she was trying to quit. I made chili too, she said, voice soft. Perfect, I said. We'll mix them. Yours for flavor, mine for salt. Her laugh cracked something in both of us. After dinner, while the kids built a pillow fort, Melissa gestured toward the fridge where a calendar hung. Therapy, Tuesday 10 a.m., circled in red. Still doing it, she said. Mostly because the counselor's scarier than you. That's the point, I smiled. Outsource the authority. She looked down. I shouldn't have called you cheap. I know. We didn't turn it into a sermon. We didn't hug. Sometimes forgiveness sounds like quiet forks on dishes. That night, Mom caught me in the hallway. You really won't pay her car note? No, Mom. She's learning, though, she said, almost surprised. So am I. 2 weeks later, snow fell heavy and silent. I stopped by Melissa's on my way home from a late shift. The porch light was on, but nobody was waiting with a list. I shoveled the walkway because it needed doing, not because anyone asked. She opened the door in an oversized sweatshirt. "You're insane," she said. "It's midnight." "Habit," I said. She leaned on the frame. "Thank you." "You're welcome." No guilt, no transaction. Just warmth spilling into cold air. Life didn't suddenly become a Hallmark montage. There were still moments. Texts that made me stare at the wall before replying. Questions that sounded like traps but weren't. Yet the word cheap vanished from everyone's vocabulary. Even Dad dropped money bags. At New Year's dinner, he just said my name. "Maris, pass the salt." It was small. It was huge. In therapy the next week, I said out loud, "I'm tired of being useful." The counselor smiled. "Then start being present." So I did. I started taking full weekends off, even if that meant someone else covered my shift. I learned to end texts with periods, not apologies. I started saying that's not something I can do, and meaning it. Lucky, my plant bloomed again. Ethan joked it was finally thriving under neglect. He took my hand one evening as we walked past the hospital. "You did it," he said. "Did what?" "Rewrote the family script." "Not yet," I said. "Just stopped reading from the wrong page." Weeks turned to months. The counselor emailed updates. Bills paid on time. One line cut from their phone plan. Kids saving for school trips. It wasn't magic. It was math. And boundaries held long enough to become normal. Mom still sighs dramatically now and then. Tells stories where time is the villain. Dad still pretends to be the referee. But at least now, I'm not the ball. If you need a motto, here's mine. I won't finance someone else's denial. I'll invest in their growth. I won't buy things to fill a silence. I'll sit in that silence until it tells the truth. I'm not the rich aunt. I'm the steady one. The woman who can finally say no without guilt, and yes without fear. When I walk into the ER now and a nurse calls, "Doctor, we've got a plan," I always smile. Because that's what I did for my family. I made a plan. They cried, they screamed, then they learned. No one opened the final box that Christmas. I did. Inside was a mirror and a single line I'd written to myself. "You don't owe anyone your peace to prove your love." And for the first time, I believed it.